Hello, I'm Annette Young and welcome to a brand new season of the 51%, a show about women reshaping our world. And this season we will be celebrating our 10th anniversary. But in the meantime, in today's show...
No es un pito, es una agresión.
A non-consensual kiss that's rocked Spain and sparked both a national and global debate about male behaviour and masculine pride. Also, as parts of the world experience extreme weather, a German university hospital study discovers a clear link between rising temperatures and an increase in premature births. And an OECD report reveals how gender discrimination impacts efforts to combat climate change. I'll be talking to Bathylle Missika, who led the research. But first, and it all started with a kiss, yet has now become a seismic moment in Spanish history. Spain's women's team first ever World Cup victory was massively overshadowed when the head of the Spanish Football Federation, Luis Rubiales, forcefully planted a kiss on star player Jenny Hermoso. The gesture sparking widespread condemnation and becoming what some call a true Me Too movement for Spain. Ironically, a nation that's also a global leader when it comes to promoting gender rights. Alison Sargent has the story.
No es un pito, es una agresión.
A kiss forced on a World Cup champion that's pushed Spain into a new reckoning over consent. When Spanish football chief Luis Rubiales planted his lips on star player Jenny Hermoso, many saw a public demonstration of ongoing machismo in a country with some of the most progressive laws in the world.
What happened to Jenny Hermoso is not an isolated event. It happens in many sports and in daily life.
Thanks to the drive of the feminist movement in recent years, we have overflowed the streets to shout that only yes is yes. And the streets and the football pitches are also ours.
In recent decades, traditionally Catholic Spain has become a pioneer of gender equality. A notorious gang rape in 2016 led to the passage last year of the landmark Only Yes Means Yes law, redefining sexual assault as any sex act without explicit consent. It's under that legislation that Rubiales could now face charges after Hermoso issued a statement saying she gave no type of consent. But the Spanish football executive insists the kiss was consensual, and his family has rallied supporters.
I don't think it was anything so serious, but a person should be the target of this kind of witch hunt.
While he remains defiant, Rubiales is growing increasingly isolated. Both football's governing body FIFA and regional leaders from the Spanish Football Federation have turned on him. Calls to address sexism in the macho world of Spanish football, an issue already highlighted by female players ahead of the World Cup, seem to be gaining momentum. The team's rallying cry, "Se acabó, it's over," has spread throughout the men's game, with support coming from high-profile figures. Condemnation has also come from politicians on both the left and the right. Spain's left-wing government, hoping to remain in power after inconclusive elections, has promised to tackle gender inequality in sports.
No more discrimination for women. No more obstacles for women in sports. It's over.
While it remains to be seen what concrete changes will follow, Spain's World Cup champions look set to use their victory and the unwanted kiss that overshadowed it to score an even bigger goal.
Now, in recent months, not a week has gone by without parts of the world suffering from unusually extreme weather, seen by many as an inevitable sign of climate change. A German university hospital study has revealed a clear link between rising temperatures and an increase in premature births. And it predicts 1 child in 6 will be born prematurely in 10 years' time, double the current figure. Our team on the ground sent us this report.
Ben was born 5 weeks early, late preterm. His organs are well developed, but he still needs permanent surveillance.
We control his oxygen level and his heartbeat constantly.
Despite medical progress, the number of premature babies has been rising in recent years.
Guten Tag, hallo, wie geht es heute?
In the vast majority of cases, the cause of premature birth is unknown. But a study carried out in this Hamburg University clinic shows global warming raises considerably the risk.
With heat, the mother's blood circulation is put under stress by the need to regulate body temperature as well as feed the baby. This leads, in the final phase of pregnancy, to a rise in premature births.
But in the temperate zones of northern Europe, heat waves are more frequent. University clinic researchers compared the last 20 years' Hamburg weather data with 42,000 patients' medical records. It's the first study of its kind, and the conclusion is alarming.
We see that after 3 consecutive days of 30 degrees Celsius temperatures, the risk of premature births rises 20%, and this risk rises 45% when temperatures are 35 degrees Celsius plus. Heat stress is a new challenge we have to adapt to.
According to these researchers, the critical period is between the 34th and 37th week. A particularly sensitive time for mothers-to-be who should reduce as much as possible their exposure to heat.
Now, recently, the OECD released a report showing how gender discrimination inhibits global efforts to tackle the climate crisis. Joining me now is Bathylle Missika, who led the research for the OECD. Bathylle, thank you so much for coming in. Firstly, as we see there in that report, women are very much impacted by climate change. Can you explain to me just how and why?
Climate change is not gender neutral. You might think that when it rains for everybody. It doesn't. Climate change is an accelerator of pre-existing inequalities and discriminations. So a woman in the South is going to be affected in very simple ways. If she works in the informal sector, let's say selling donuts on the side of the road, and there is a tsunami, she will lose, well, she might lose her life, but she will lose her income, her livelihoods. She does not have insurance, and she might not even own the land where her family has a farm. So it accelerates economic discriminations on women. In addition, some of these discriminations that existed ex ante will still persist. For example, young girls are likely to be taken out of school when there is a drought or after an earthquake because the family has lost everything, so they need her to work in the fields. As a result, she will not be educated, and then herself will not be able to read, maybe won't have access to early warning mechanisms. So this is a mechanism that perpetuates itself.
And then you have Indigenous women who find themselves on the front line of this climate crisis.
Absolutely, because, well, first of all, 70% of the world's poor are women. And in agriculture in the South, women work on the land. So that makes them extremely vulnerable to climate change, to natural disasters. They also have the bulk of unpaid care work, meaning they have to take care of the children, they need to cook, they need to clean. Getting water is becoming harder and harder. So if you have to walk now, instead of 2 miles, 10 miles to get water for the family, that's time that you will not have to pursue an economic opportunity or to go back to school or to help your children with their homework. So that creates another level of inequalities just because they're women, and this is the role that's been assigned to them as part of the household.
So how have governments failed when it comes to constructing climate change policies?
Well, first of all, they've approached them, I would say, intuitively, like a technical issue, not a gender issue. So if you have a non-gendered policy, for example, after flooding or after a tsunami, you can help the economy recover by, let's say, having lower taxes. But these women, they were not paying taxes. So you're missing the mark. You're not doing what it takes to actually help the ones that are going to help the country recover. So policies don't have a gender lens. Women are not at the table. So it hasn't been seen as part of the equation. So it is about us, but not with us.
And talking about women not being at the table, the next COP, which is COP28, the UN's annual climate conference, is happening in Dubai, in a region that's not renowned for promoting gender rights. Not to mention at last year's COP meeting, apparently only 34% of those negotiating were women. So what are your thoughts about that?
That needs to change. Thankfully, and I think there are always reasons to be optimistic. There are figures emerging like Mia Mottley, the Prime Minister of Barbados. She's been extremely vocal about the fact that small island development states are in trouble, and she's been pushing the agenda. So she brings her voice and her perspective as a woman. So I think we need more women at the table negotiating. We need more women thinking about preventive mechanisms. And we need policies that will specifically address the losses that women are likely to experience. So it takes a village. It's going to be at different levels. Activism is very important. So it's not just about government at the COP, but I think generally the gender lens needs to be there. It needs to be a red thread. That's what we need to look at now.
Bathylle Missika, it's been great speaking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And that's all for this edition. We'd love to hear your suggestions for the 51%, so do get in touch via Facebook, Instagram or Twitter. And you can catch our previous episodes on our website. So until our next show, bye for now.